That takes me back to when I was a kid. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson. We are in Chicago, a place that I consider to be my hometown, even though I didn't really grow up in Chicago. I grew up in the suburbs, but my grandparents, my great-grandparents, they were all from Chicago, so I claim it as my own. We are at Navy Pier, and this place is a huge tourist attraction these days. But I'll tell you, when I was growing up, it was kind of a post-industrial wasteland. People really didn't come down here. They tried to revitalize it, and finally, I guess in the 90s, they were successful, and it's kind of become, you know, an almost like Disneyland-esque version of Chicago, because you've got things like the Billy Goat Tavern, which is always was a dive of a bar in Chicago. It was from, you know, if you ever saw the old Saturday Night Live, cheeseburger, no Pepsi Coke, or no Coke Pepsi, whatever it was. That was the Billy Goat Tavern. That was what it was based on. And they've got I was walking by, they got a little Billy Goat Tavern here. So nothing like the original, of course. You can also come down here and get boat rides in the harbor. You can also catch the architectural tour, which is extraordinarily popular here in Chicago. You can get one of the architectural tours from Navy Pier. So this is a place to come if you've got kids. There's the Children's Museum of Chicago is here as well. But we're not here to eat. We're gonna look at the water a little bit. Then we're gonna see if we can get a classic Chicago cocktail and some classic Chicago pizza. And it's not deep dish pizza. The only kind of pizza that you know from Chicago is deep dish pizza. I got news for you. Chicagoans really don't eat deep dish pizza. Yeah, they eat it a little bit, but there's another kind of pizza that Chicagoans eat in Chicago every single day. It's way more popular. It's the kind of pizza I grew up eating, and we'll see if we can get our hands on some really good, authentic Chicago-style pizza while we're here in Chicago. All right, so we're in the drawing room on Michigan Avenue. We're right across from Millennium Park, so if you come to Chicago, probably going to Millennium Park. You're gonna see the Bean and all of that stuff. This is a real classic Chicago bar. It's called the Drawing Room for good reason. It looks like a drawing room in like a Victorian mansion or something, with all this dark wood and this big furniture and whatnot. And they got a little bar in here. So what I ordered was an old-fashioned. Chicago claims the old-fashioned as their own, but really no one knows where the old-fashioned originated. First came into being probably a little over 200 years ago. And you can make different kinds of old-fashions. You know, the classic old-fashioned is bourbon, whiskey, and simple syrup, and some bitters, and maybe a twist of citrus. This old-fashioned was just bourbon on the rocks with a twist of lemon, which, I don't know, I haven't seen before, but that's how we made it, and not too bad. Funny thing about the old-fashioned is that there's also a Wisconsin old-fashioned, and you know, if you know anything about Chicago, you know Chicago and Wisconsin, Illinois and Wisconsin, they kind of have a friendly rivalry, extends beyond Bears versus Packers. If you talk to somebody from Wisconsin, they might refer to Illinois people as Flatlanders or FIPs, which is, I'm not going to tell you what that stands for. And of course, Illinois people call people from Wisconsin cheeseheads. So there's this friendly rivalry, you know. Chicago people make fun of poutine, which is consumed in Chicago, and I'm sure that Wisconsin people make fun of Chicago-style hot dogs. But there is a Wisconsin old-fashioned, and that's made with lemon lime soda, like Sprite, with your bourbon. And ask someone from Chicago about that, and they'll tell you it's not an old-fashioned, and they'll shake their head in disgust and maybe give you some choice words. But this is a good place to come. This is a really chill spot. A lot of people just hanging out, working on their computers, I don't know, waiting for folks, and just relaxing at the end of the day. So nice little spot called the Drawing Room. All right, we're at Pizzeria Due in the River North neighborhood of Chicago. Now, this place is one of the original Chicago deep dish pizza places. It's the sister restaurant of Pizzeria Uno. You may have heard of Pizzeria Uno. They have franchises all over the country. They started making deep dish pizza back in the 1940s. Then they got so popular, right down the block they opened Pizzeria Due in the 1950s. And they're known for what is the most world famous kind of pizza, which is deep dish style pizza, that thick, some people will derisively call it casserole, not a pizza. But I have to tell you, in Chicago, people who grow up on pizza, they eat something called tavern-style pizza. It's a thin crust pizza, like this, and it's cut cross-cut. It's not cut into slices, it's cut into kind of squares, okay? Now this pizza originated, it's called tavern-style for a reason, because it originated in a tavern in Chicago. What they did was they made it so thin by putting the dough through a pasta sheet maker. So imagine, you know how they put pasta dough through to make it super thin before they cut it? That's what they used with the pizza dough. They made a thin pizza topped with cheese and tomato sauce and toppings, and they would serve it in the tavern. Why? They would hand out these pizzas for free. The guys who were in the bar after work would hang around and drink more beer, and the bar made more money. This tavern-style pizza became hugely popular. Now me, someone who grew up in Chicagoland, I didn't even have the Chicago deep dish pizza till I was a teenager. I grew up on tavern-style pizza. There was a place in our town called Charlotte's that we would go to. My parents would take us there on a Friday night, and we would get the little tavern-style pizza. And that's all I knew as pizza. And it was cut like this, in the cross cuts, not in slices. And we would get it all the time. Crispy pizza, thin crust, any kind of toppings that you want. Traditionally, sausage. I didn't get sausage, I got mushroom and pepper and onion. Now, the best tavern-style pizza will be, this crust might be a little bit thicker than I would like to see. And you'll get the cheese going all the way to the end, and then these little pieces are really desirable because they get super crispy and crunchy. This one, I don't know, maybe I'd like to see it cooked a little bit longer. And then when you get to the inside of the pizza, the middle here, see if I can do this elegantly. Then you get the squares with absolutely no crust on them. And my pal Jonathan Porter, who runs a pizza tour company here in Chicago, I need to get that down. He calls these fold and pop, because what you do is you just fold it over like this, because the inside it's not as crispy, and you just go boom. That takes me back to when I was a kid. That's what we used to have. But me and my brothers, we would fight over who got these little corner pieces. These were the most desirable ones. I was the oldest, so you can imagine who got most of the corner. Well, my dad, first of all, and then me. But anyway, I'm serious when I say most Chicagoans, this is the kind of pizza that they will have on a daily basis. If they go out for pizza, this is what they get. I have a joke that I say the only time that Chicagoans go out for deep dish pizza is when friends and family come to visit in Chicago. It's like, you wouldn't go out and get it normally. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. Of course, sometimes you go out for a deep dish pizza. But for the most part, this is your pizza that you go out to get on a Friday night, or if you don't feel like cooking on a weeknight, you would get a tavern-style pizza. And there are tons and tons of great places in Chicago. There's Pat's, there's Santos, there's is it Nick and Vito's or Vito and Nick's? I'll have a link in the notes in the video here. But these famous places that really make wonderful tavern-style pizza. This is Due is in the River North neighborhood, and it's a block from our hotel. So this is where we decided to come. But I got to say, these inner squares, they're pretty good. I may have to rethink my idea of only going for the outer crispy ones, because the inner one is pretty darn good. I think I'll be eating these today. Well, that's it for this Chicago trip. It's been really a short trip. I wish we could have stayed here longer and done more Chicago foodie stuff. Gotten a Chicago dog and the Italian beef and other great Chicago cocktails and stuff. Maybe gone to Italy, but this trip was just not really very long in Chicago. Next time though, we come back here. Usually when we come back to the States once a year, we like to come to Chicago, visit old friends and family and whatnot. So maybe next time. We stayed in the River North neighborhood, and we're staying at the Eurostar on the Magnificent Mile, and they've got a little cafe down here in the on the first floor on ground level. So gonna have a little breakfast and then head to the airport and then off to Rhode Island, which is where Karen's from and where I lived for many years, and in my opinion is one of the just criminally underrated foodie places in the United States. So we'll do some videos from there. We're going to be there for a little bit longer period of time. Until then, if you like this kind of food and travel type of content, subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. I also have a weekly podcast for locations all over the world. Drops every Friday. It's also called Destination Eat Drink, and there's destinationeatdrink.com, where I've got a bunch of blog entries about food and travel and a bunch of foodie travel guides to cities all over the world. So make sure you check out all of that stuff. Until then, see you down the road. Thanks for watching.